The PFL is absolutely imploding right now. Like, I keep looking at this, and all I am seeing is one disaster after another. And honestly, I feel like they would absolutely fold if they didn't have some of the deepest pockets backing them ever. Because, like, you cannot have this many setbacks in a row and still be in business. I don't know what is going on back there, but it just seems like one failure after another. So this week, a bombshell dropped from some of the biggest combat sports stars that exist outside the UFC. I'll tell you what I mean. Corey Anderson, Patricio Pitbull, and Patchy Mix, 3 Bellator champions, 3 long-standing Bellator champions, all came out and basically said that they can't get a fight in the PFL. So, just a little bit of history, right? Last year around this time, the Bellator, which was its own thing, was acquired by the PFL. Then they had kind of this big championship crossover event where they did all the PFL champs versus all the Bellator champs. Surprisingly, all the Bellator champs won. This was back towards the end of February there. And I think they had one PFL champ win. All the Bellator champs won other than that. And then that's it. For the most part, that is it. And now, all of those guys that came over from the PFL, all the champions, all the stars, are basically saying, we are not getting any news when it comes to a fight. Just look at this. Look at this. Corey Overtime Anderson used to be a PFL, a UFC guy. He writes on November 20th, aging like warm cheese over here, waiting for PFL MMA to give me a call. But don't get it twisted, we're still ready to defend the strap against anybody, young or old. Right? So, like, he clearly been waiting a while. Then, let's look at it. Patricio Pitbull, long-standing Bellator champion. He goes off here. I haven't fought since February. I wanted to fight 3 times this year, but I was told I'd have to wait until December 31st and found out online my opponent would fight someone else. Then they had a replacement. I bring people over, spend more money with the camp, and there's no fight. Okay, so like, bad, but it's getting worse. They said things didn't work out with Japan and that it wasn't their fault. Okay, so why don't you stage a show somewhere else? What kind of promotion can't give their fighters at least 2 fights a year? Some haven't even fought this year. Bellator used to be big. Things worked, and we always had answers. They never just canceled a show and said they had no idea when we would be booked. Even regional promotions have dates set for April of next year already. This merger has been a disaster to the sport of MMA. Meanwhile, we have to see the top brass talking about offering tens of millions of dollars to social media personalities and semi-retired fighters while cutting 90% of the roster and telling guys making 30 plus 30 they're too expensive. How can you become number 1 in the world if you don't stage events and don't want to pay fighters? I am very worried about the future of Bellator and MMA in general. I feel very sorry for the fighters who didn't even get to fight this year or were cut because they just don't make shows or think they're expensive, and all the fighters who were forced to take a pay cut. This is wrong. We need answers. We need fighters and fans to be respected. This is not a game or just some business. These are people's lives we were talking about. A serious promotion would give fighters the chance to fight at least 3 times a year if they're healthy. So yeah, this is Patricio Pitbull, right? Another Bellator champion. And then you go to Patchy Mix, their bantamweight champion, who a lot of people think like he could be the guy to beat people like Marab and people like Sugar Sean, right? Like a top bantamweight in the world. I don't know if he would, but you know, here's what he said, November 22nd. I've been training my ass off for the last half of year for nothing. This is so frustrating in the prime of my career, and I've had to fight in November. I've had my fight in November canceled. Then Now again, I'm being told I'm off January Dubai card. I am the best in the world, and I want to fight to prove it, right? So, like, 3 of kind of the biggest stars out of Bellator are all saying they can't get a fight, right? And for a while, there was a rumor going around that the PFL was keeping Francis Ngannou shelved because of the fact that he was too expensive, right? And, like, I get it a little bit because that pay-per-view that they did with Francis Ngannou absolutely bombed, right? I think you got like 10,000 buys or something like that, which is absolutely nothing, right? And I have my whole theory as to why that was so bad, right? But like, I would have tuned in for, I'll just tell you, I would have tuned in for Francis Ngannou because I love Francis, right? But I just wanted to buy the pay-per-view, but the you know, at least in Canada, we had to do it on DAZN, and DAZN wanted me to sign up for a year worth of crap just to watch one fight. And I just wanted to support Francis Ngannou, and that's it, right? I don't want a subscription to DAZN. I don't have time to watch a bunch of other sports. I just wanted to watch that one thing. So, like, DAZN come up with a day pass or something like that where I can do that and buy the pay-per-view or whatever the case may be. Now, this seems like a trend, man. Like, just the PFL constantly and consistently fumbling the ball. I don't know who is running the show behind there, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's this guy, Don Davis. And just from everything I hear from the guy, he's going about this the complete incorrect way. Right? Like, first of all, he's bragging about how they're paying their fighters the most, right? Where it's like, okay, but, like, your business isn't profitable. And then he talks about, oh, well, we've got the best fighters. It's like, okay, why should we care? Right? And then there's just these, like, little marketing mistakes that make it so insufferable. And by the way, sufferable to try to watch. Like, anything that they produce. Right? So, and I'll tell you, like, back right before Francis Ngannou was supposed to fight, I'm looking up and I'm trying to find how the hell to watch it, right? And it's like, and then I'm like, hey guys, like, you haven't posted anywhere that's easy to find what time I can tune in to watch Francis Ngannou fight, right? And like, they send me a picture, they're like, oh, just scroll to the next page and it's right there. I'm like, yeah, but that's a problem, right? If I look at the poster, it should be very, very clear when, like, what time I can tune in and how, right? Go to YouTube, go to PFL.com, go to DAZN, right? And tune in at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Or whatever the case may be, right? So, if I am guessing, right now they are absolutely bleeding, right? And the reality is they'd probably close their doors if it weren't for the fact that they've got Saudi Arabia backing them up, right? Like, their next event is in Saudi Arabia. I think the one this weekend's in Saudi Arabia. Then they're doing another one with Usman Nurmagomedov. I think coming in January or February, where he, like, so they're doing a big, because that's where all their backers are, right? And they're trying to get a bunch of entertainment in the Gulf regions of the Middle East. So I get it. At the same time, the pay-per-view money comes from, and the, like, North America is kind of the market that makes these places profitable, right? So it's like, I don't know what they're doing, right? And I hope PFL can right the ship, because I crap on them a lot, but it looks like both them and One Championship are really struggling right now, and I want to live in a world where there's more fight promotions, more options, and I can go into my weekend having something to watch Friday night, Saturday night, and maybe even on a Sunday. Right? So one of the things I was going to say is that this weekend was the perfect time for a promotion to capitalize because there's no UFC, right? And PFL's doing it. So credit where credit's due. And they made a poster that said the time that you can actually tune in to watch, right? So credit where credit is due in that respect. But it's, you know, it's one of these things that I don't know who's running the ship, right? But it looks like they are imploding. It looks like the PFL is in a lot of trouble. It looks like this acquisition of Bellator was a huge mistake. And a lot of the stars and talent that they were hoping to get through Bellator seem to be on the bench, right? So I don't know what they do here. I don't know what the solution is, but at the end of the day, like, it looks, you know, I think a lot of these guys are probably going to look for fights elsewhere, right? Karate Combat's killing it right now. UFC's probably going to look to expand their roster, so some of the top guys, I mean, yeah, man, I don't know, but Don Davis seems to be the face, and shit is being screwed up royally. So I'm assuming in some way, shape, or form, he's partially to blame. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like and subscribe button. Helps with the algorithm, helps grow the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.